out with interviews, breaking news, separate lies from the truth with the room of proof. Follow your team from the draft through the playoffs. No layoff, we stay on the story to pay off. It's 24/7 football at your fingertips. Watch, read, or listen. Blitzalytics bringing it. Blitzalytics proudly presents Jack and George. Welcome to the Blitz. Welcome to the Blitz, y'all.
Welcome into the Blitz Breakdown, presented by Blitzalytics.com, where scouting meets analytics and you meet the newest crop of off-field talent. The Blitz Breakdown and the Blitz Podcast Network are also sponsored by Key City Brewing. Drink, Rebel, Repeat. Mr. Zach Gartin, you were so damn good on this last episode the other week that we had requests to bring you back. The core was mightily impressed. The team was happy that you were the one representing them on the Blitz Breakdown. So welcome back, sir. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing wonderful. Just found out the Weeknd's going to be the halftime guy for the Super Bowl this year. It's going to be interesting.
Nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Should be good. Should be a good one. He's made himself a name for himself over recent months.
Just a little bit.
So that'll be good. That'll be good. I mean, it's going to be probably an empty stadium, or
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a little weird.
Like that in Tampa is what they're saying.
Crowd noise, baby. Crowd noise.
Yeah, exactly. we'll see how that is. I bet you it's still going to be one expensive Super Bowl ticket.
Oh yeah.
Man. So we got a list of topics. We're going to kind of free balls. We're going to freehand this and just go with it where it flows. We're gonna keep it nice and light today, and discuss every topic we possibly can in correlation or in relation to NFL Week 10 football. So without further ado, let's just jump on into this. One thing that's been brought up over the last few weeks is the digression of Lamar Jackson's play, his inability to basically carry his team like he did last season, like he did last year. He put up an outstanding undeniable MVP performance. Like there was nobody even remotely close to kind of even sniffing at his jockstrap in terms of winning the MVP last year. This year it is quite different. It is a complete opposite. Lamar Jackson doesn't look the same. He did have a decent second half last week against the Indianapolis Colts, in which mainly the defense was at least the spark. But he did make some good throws. They forced him to kind of play a little bit more of a pocket passer this last week, and typically that is where he has his faults. And this Greg Roman offense isn't as, I would say, special as it was last year, even though they have maybe minus Marshall Yanda, the exact same, if not a more talented group, at least a more experienced group around them. So what is it that is holding Lamar Jackson back? Is it just Lamar Jackson? Is it the fact that he's never been accurate, never will be accurate? What's your take on Lamar Jackson and the lack of production from Baltimore's offense?
I think it has a lot to do with game planning. There's been talks about how people are calling out Greg Roman's plays before they even snap the ball. There's been multiple reports of that on ESPN and all of that. And I think the big thing here is that it's just not a very creative offense. And while we talk about there's a lot of motion, a lot of stuff like that, but the schemes themselves aren't creative. And while that's good at times because it's efficient, it's easy to learn, it can be very effective because you can just do it over and over again, the lack of supplemental play calling, screens, more play action, and different things like that to supplement their main schemes, their main running schemes especially, can really affect that and make it really easy to kind of call out their tendencies. In fact, I remember a stat. I can't remember it exactly right now, of course, but I think they're pretty close to last in the terms of how many times they call screens. And considering they have guys like J.K. Dobbins, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, and Mark Ingram, who are all really good on screens and in the open field, it's kind of weird to me that they're not calling those and not really giving their guys an opportunity to make plays with the ball.
Yeah, I agree with you. It seems like they are very, very simplistic in their approach. They're either going to run it or they're going to throw it deep. And it's kind of like this play action. They have this middle to deep range, route tree that they run, and everything else is, they would definitely help Lamar Jackson if they did a little bit more underneath stuff. Gave him the easy routes. Gave him, the bubble screens, gave him the running back screens, gave him tight end screens, with Mark Andrews and the other tight ends they have there. Getting him in a rhythm is something that I don't think they do. And when you run the ball with a quarterback, it definitely takes them out of rhythm as a quarterback. In terms of throwing, you see it when Taysom Hill, slides in for the Saints. It almost kind of does throw. I mean, obviously he's making plays, especially against my Bucks. But it does kind of derail or throw off the rhythm of the offense. That was just kind of driving down the field, dinking and dunking, doing whatever they had. They had rhythm, they had momentum, and then it does kind of change things up when you pull your quarterback. And although Lamar Jackson's still in the field, they do kind of use him. They use him all over the place. They use him running, and so when you're running, you're not. If you're running the ball, obviously you're not building momentum with the passing game, and that I think is the biggest thing. And although they do, I think more so than anything though, is that their passing game is predicated and relied upon from the run game. And so when they haven't been able to get the run game going all year, even though in chunks and in spurts they have, it doesn't seem to be the same. Again, Marshall Yonda is a first ballot Hall of Fame, All-Pro, Pro Bowl type, day one, amazing player, one of the greatest of all time. So when you lose that, although we can say that the guard position may or may not be the most important position on the offensive line, much less the team, it is extremely important to have that, especially in the run game. They lost Ronnie Stanley for the year. They do have some other guys that are able to kind of throw around Orlando Brown to the left side and keep Jackson's. I guess Jackson's left-handed, right?
I have no idea. I don't know why
on his blind side. I'm like, wait, is he left-handed?
Give me 1 second.
No, I'm not sure.
Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, look that up for me. I hate to be. That's a bad one to know or not know. Because I think it? Kyler. I'm trying to think of all the left-handed quarterbacks because there's only a few.
I think it might be just Tua.
You're probably right. Yeah, is that who I'm thinking about? I do have Tua's name sitting right here on this list.
Tua is left-handed. Lamar Jackson's right-handed. That was.
Okay, yeah. All right,
I don't know why we didn't remember that.
His blind side. His blind side. Anyways, but I just think that scheme-wise, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Is that Greg Roman's offense is good for about a year or two, and then it tends to falter. We've seen it with Colin Kaepernick. He had a really, really productive year, and then he had a slightly less productive year, and then it fell off after that. And the Greg Roman did leave when things got really bad for Cap. So we're not putting the blame all on Greg Roman. His offense works specifically for this type of quarterback, but sooner or later you have to start disguising plays. You have to start running misdirections. You have to make this play look like that play, but then still run this play. So, and if you're not doing that, then it makes it really easy. And I think that when they get into that almost, I don't want to call it a gadget, but that RPO offense, when they get into that almost like, Army style, option play offense, it becomes very simplistic because they only run 4 or 5 plays. You kind of know it's a run. You think it's going this, either this gap, or he's going to the outside and it's going to be like a boot. And they're just ready for it. So, if they could add some wrinkles to that, you kind of have to counter scout yourself. You have to be able to look at it and be like, all right.
You have to self-scout.
If we run this play, they're going to do this. If they do this, then we go over the top, all right? Or if they do this, this is going to be the weak point of the defense. We have to find and place a wide receiver right here in this soft coverage. If they can't do that and they can't adapt, that's going to be the biggest thing. And I hate to say it, but Baltimore Ravens aren't going anywhere. And if Lamar Jackson can't be the same guy he was last year in terms of running the ball, he'll never be the same guy throwing the ball.
Yeah, I think this Greg Roman offense is really stymieing his development. That's a big thing here. I think that if you put him in a regular offense, give him a year or two, because we got to remember, he's still in his 3rd season. These guys' careers aren't going to be done for a while. He's still going to have a little bit of time to develop. I'd say probably about his 5th year, he's still struggling to throw the ball a little bit, still struggling to kind of roll through his reads. I still think he's a very good quarterback, to be clear. He can be really good in an offense. I still think he can be very good. But I think this type of offense with its limited throwing options, first of all, Marquise Brown and Devin Duvernay are kind of his only wide receiver options. He has Mark Andrews, of course, but that's really only down the middle of the field. So on the outside, he doesn't have a whole ton of options. But I think this offense is just stymieing his development, and they need to open it up a little more to allow him to develop. He may struggle at first, but considering they may not be in contention as much as they were last year this year due to a bunch of injuries along the O-line, their defense isn't as good. It's still very good, but it's not as good this year because of regression and stuff like that. That happens to almost all defenses. I think that maybe you open it up a little bit if Greg Roman wants to and give him some time to develop in a little bit more pass-heavy offense. Maybe you take a little bit away from the QB runs, let him sit in the pocket, develop there. You can still have those in there because it's important to your offense, but I think it's important that they open it up a little bit and let him develop.
So yeah, I think that could be also be a negative though in terms of if you're asking him to do what he's not known to do, he's gonna make mistakes obviously if you try to turn him into a pure pocket passer. But it would be good for his development, but it could short term is not going to help I think this season. If maybe like you said, if they started that at the beginning of the year and they kind of just opened up the offense a little bit more. But they seem to have not. They had this small set of plays, this one season's worth of a playbook, and they didn't expand on it to me it doesn't seem at all. From the game film that I've broken down, it's the exact same offense, the exact same plays, and a year's worth of game film will ruin any offense if they do not adapt.
Yeah, players and coaches in the NFL are just too smart. It's not like college where these kids have classes and the coaches are the only ones watching film all day. These guys all watch film all day. So they know exactly what you're doing. They know your tendencies. They know every little thing about your game before they play you. And it's way too easy to stop if you run the same thing you did last year.
I 100% agree. All right, we could talk about this all day. I mean, I would love to go in and break
100%.
down his throwing motion and why he is inaccurate, but we can save that maybe for this offseason. Unless maybe he'll impress us all and turn this all around and become a very accurate quarterback. But accuracy doesn't grow on trees, and if you didn't come into the college having it, you're likely not going to have it. It's really easy to hit a wide open wide receiver. It's really hard to not only thread the needle but lead a wide receiver and be able to anticipate a throw. That is the biggest thing in terms of going from college to pro. And Tua does that really well over the last couple weeks. He does. That is one thing that I will say about Tua. And we will get into again these first and second year quarterbacks. But our next topic is the biggest dark horse teams. We're starting to see some teams kind of come out of the woodworks in terms of finding their rhythm, finding their stride, figuring things out. Especially with the limited offseason, it seems like a lot of these teams weren't really, hitting on all cylinders through the first few weeks, especially defensively. Now, a lot of these teams have got their stuff together. I feel like if your Carolina Panthers could just get one win under their belt, then it would kind of change this stuff around. Because they're losing by this much, and they're really competitive in every freaking game. I feel like they should be a team we'd be talking about right now if they had a win or two over the last couple weeks under their belt. Like some of these close games that they were able to pull it out, against the Saints or against the Chiefs, then this would be one of these teams. But you've got teams like the Raiders, you've got teams like the Dolphins, you've got teams like the Minnesota Vikings that are really, really hitting their stride, even though they've been terrible. Not so much the Raiders, but the Dolphins. We've thought about the Dolphins being just this ugly, awful team. Even last year. Depletion of talent. They might have been 5-11. They had no right to win 5 games with the amount of talent they had on that team. And now look at them. They're an AFC playoff contender. They are somebody that you kind of don't want to see right now because they're kind of beating everybody up. Defensively especially. They have put together a stout defense, and that's kind of with a lot of you talk about what Carl Lawson's one of the guys right now, getting sacks for them. They have some guys that were kind of throwaways on other teams, players that people did not want. Then they also, they stacked that secondary. Brian Flores has quietly built a stout team, so that's one of the teams that I would think of in terms of dark horse contenders. I don't know if they can win a Super Bowl with Tua, but I wouldn't hold it against them to be a true team that comes in and upsets a lot of teams, and I think that they are going to push for a playoff spot, potentially even the AFC East if the Bills don't keep pace throughout the rest of the season.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can see that. I didn't write them down because I knew you'd talk about them. You were spouting about Brian Flores on Tuesday. Rightfully so. He's done a fantastic job in Miami, and he's done a great job coaching those guys to continually fight and win for him, even in dire situations last year. Now that they've got a good team, except for probably on the outside to probably upgrade those weapons. That's probably what they're going to do in the draft next year. But on defense, they've got studs. Byron Jones is playing out of his mind. I believe Xavier Howard is their other corner. He's playing really well. And even without a real star in that back end, they're playing fantastic complementary football. And I've always been a coverage guy over pass rush guy, personally. Maybe it's just my background as a defensive back. But you're kind of seeing what they're doing here is they're disguising pressures. They're doing a lot of what the Patriots did last year and the year before, because Brian Flores was, of course, their DC. And they're doing it very well because he's built a squad to do it really well down in Miami. And I think that's fantastic. One of the teams I want to highlight here is the Cardinals, the team that just lost to the Dolphins. Kyler Murray is really, really good, guys. He is really good at this football thing. And you're not going to be able to change my mind about it. He's carried this team through 8 weeks or so, however long the season's been. I'm having a brain fart right now. Week 10. But he's played really well, even with Cliff Kingsbury making bad late game decisions. That decision personally, not to go for it on 4th and 1 and try to run more time off the clock there, when I believe it was a tie game, and instead kick a 49 or 50-yard field goal with 2 minutes left, just didn't make sense. You should try to get that 4th and 1 because it's a higher percentage play than a 50-plus yard field goal, and then try to get closer to make the field goal easier and take more time off the clock, because then you almost guarantee a win. And they lost that game partially because of Cliff Kingsbury's decisions. I think that really hurts Kyler Murray because he's an aggressive downfield quarterback, and with Cliff Kingsbury running a very conservative passing scheme and then making conservative coaching decisions, it holds him back. And that defense just needs to get a tick better. It needs to meld together, because there's been signs that it's really good. They get turnovers, they make plays. Budda Baker's been insane, but they just need that extra step. And if they can get that extra step, I think they could fight for that division with the Seahawks, because Russell Wilson's taken a step back recently.
Okay. Getting ahead of ourselves in the next topic here, but
yeah, a little bit.
See, I struggle in terms of this. We're talking about dark horses. We're talking about dark horse. I mean, technically dark horse Super Bowl contenders, but I mean, we're just talking about dark horses in general that can make it a push into the playoffs. I see Kyler Murray makes me want to get on that bandwagon, and Cliff Kingsbury makes me get off as fast as possible, because I do think Cliff Kingsbury does not know how to manage a game. I think he knows how to run a spread offense, a wide open, full throttle offense. I don't 100%. Think he knows the subtleties of being an NFL head coach. I don't think he has the experience. I think it may come with a couple seasons. It may come with some losses, to go ahead and learn from those mistakes. But the defense is depleted. I'm right there with you. Budda Baker is my boy. He's one of my favorites coming out. I still wish I was pounding the table for Tampa Bay Buccaneers to take him years and years ago. But for me, you can't. I don't think that they have the defense. I do think that they're depleted, especially loss of Chandler Jones. The secondary isn't playing. I believe their defense is playing way above their skill level. And they have been making plays, and they've been very opportunistic, but I don't think that this is a team that's going to be able to contend. But that being said, it just depends on the matchup, because there's a lot of teams. We're talking about the AFC. The AFC is kind of got some heavy hitters this year. If we're talking about them playing the Rams, if we're talking about them playing the Seahawks, not only do I think they have a chance, I think they match up very, very well against those teams and could possibly beat them for either the division, which we're about to get into, or they can beat them come playoff time if they are in one of those wild card spots, which we can basically all but guarantee them to have. If you look at it right now, I mean, they're sitting at 5-3. Rams are at 5-3. Bears are at 5-4. Niners are at 4-5. So they're basically all but guaranteed a spot right now, and they're only a game behind the Seattle Seahawks. So who knows if the Seahawks fall off and lose another game? They've kind of seemed to be getting exposed 2 of the last 3 weeks they've suffered 2 losses, and minus playing Nick Mullins, they've got extremely exposed in terms of pass coverage and showing you just don't even have to run, don't even need to run the ball against this team. Just throw against how weak this secondary is. So I honestly do think we can jump on into this segment. But I will say this: I do think that the Las Vegas Raiders are another team to kind of look out for.
Agree.
They are sneaky good in terms of matchup wise. There's a few teams that they will not beat or hold a candle to. But in terms of being at what we've seen against them playing KC, what we've seen against them playing New Orleans is they can play small ball, and they can play small ball really, really well. They can run the rock. They can keep your star quarterback off the field. They can slow down, if not stifle, your run game to a point where you are forced to throw the ball. And then they've got some guys. They have a really young secondary, but they've got some guys in that secondary that can ball. Damon Arnett, I wouldn't say we slept on him. We knew what we were getting, but he's fit this system extremely well. When they get him back 100%, they get a couple of these other guys back, this is going to be a scary team. They've been banged up all year long, and they've still been rolling and making plays. When they're at full health and they've got Trent Brown and Incognito and all these guys on that offensive line, and then they have a healthy wide receiving core, and they've got everybody on the field at the same time, I do think that they can beat anyone. Moving on, though, this NFC West is extremely, extremely intriguing.
Extremely tight.
It is super tight, and if not, it would be a 4-team race if the Niners were healthy. Even if the Niners were remotely
100%.
healthy, this could be a 4-team race. But without Jimmy G, without Kittle, without Debo and Brandon Ayuk and the Bosa, I mean, you just go through the list of how many guys that they've lost, or the guys that are bouncing in and out, or guys that are gonna likely be out for the year. The Niners we can take out of this conversation, even though they're technically still in the race. I really don't think. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to be that team that starts nipping at the heels of that last wild card spot. Because I'm sure there's going to be some unforeseen losses for a few of these teams. But as it sits right now, I think it would be Bucks, Rams, and Cardinals in the wild card race, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and so. It's tight, but they could. If the Cardinals or the Rams, lose a game or two and Minnesota keeps winning, then who knows? This NFC West is intriguing for the simple fact that you have the Rams have had a comeback year. I mean, they went 9-7 last year, but really they're looking like the team from 2 years ago. The Seattle Seahawks have Russell Wilson, and that can win you any game. And then
100%.
And then. We just talked about it. The Cardinals have Kyler Murray, one of if not the best quarterback to come out of the draft in quite a few years. So, what's your take on the NFC West? Do you think that Russell Wilson can do enough to counteract the negative that is his defense?
We've seen the last 2 weeks that only goes so far because Russ has been turning the ball over a little bit more to kind of go along with the more pass attempts he's had. He's regressing a little bit. He can still play an absurd level. I'm not calling him bad or anything at all. But when you're throwing the ball that much, that's kind of the counterpoint of let Russ cook. Everybody was like, let Russ cook. And he was doing really well. And now he started to turn the ball over more. So we're kind of seeing the downside of going very pass heavy. You're going to have some games where you turn the ball over more, whether it's just luck, whether it's just a bad matchup. There's a whole bunch of factors that went into it, but he's turning the ball over more, and a couple bad, 1 or 2 more bad games in this division could knock them out of the race for the division lead. So, and I think the Cardinals D is much better than the Seahawks. It's not a very high bar to pass, but they're much better than the Seahawks. I think Kyler Murray can be as dynamic. I'm not going to say as good, but as dynamic as Russell Wilson can be at times, and I think they have a good enough offense to really be a bad matchup for the Seahawks. So I think the Cardinals will win this division. I think it'll come down to week 16, week 17. So those guys will be right neck and neck, and then 1 or 2 breaks in one specific game will determine where this division is going to go. But I do think that the Cardinals could win this division.
So I'm looking at the current schedules right now, and the Cardinals have a big uphill battle for sure. They definitely face a few more quality teams. So they play the Bills this weekend, then they play the Seahawks, which again is going to be kind of a game that can determine everything because they already beat Seattle just 2 weeks ago. So that could be, but then basically they're going to have to run shop for the most part. If you look at the Seattle Seahawks schedule right now, at Rams, Cardinals, then they pretty much have gimme wins against against Philly. Basically, all right, let me reset this. Against the NFC least. You've got after the Rams, after the Cardinals, the entire NFC least. There goes the Eagles, the Giants. Oh, I'm sorry. Then the Jets. So not that's the AFC least.
That's easy.
So it's Eagles, Giants, Jets, Washington football team, then Rams, then Niners. So you would have to basically expect them to lose. The Cardinals, I think, will need them to lose both times against the Rams and the Cardinals beat them for them to really realistically have a chance because the Cardinals, there's no way the Cardinals are running the table. I don't think the Cardinals are going to beat the Bills this weekend. And then they have, again, they've got the Rams twice still. And then they have their kind of easy spot with the Giants and the Eagles and Niners again. But it's going to be a tight race. It is going to be a tight race, but then we can't even forget about the Rams. I mean, the Rams, if you look at that, they're right on par too. And they've got Seahawks this weekend. That basically determines this weekend there could be a three-way tie in the NFC. I mean, depending on or the NFC West, depending on how it happens. But they go Seahawks, Bucks, Niners, Cardinals, Patriots, Jets, Seahawks, Cardinals. So they kind of control their own destiny.
Much harder schedule than any other one.
What's that?
Much harder schedule for the Rams than the other two. Much harder.
Playing the Bucks, obviously, but a lot of these teams they've either survived their tough part of their schedule. But I mean, realistically, this team is just kind of they have it pretty easy. Or both of this entire division schedule is pretty easy this year. It's not
just getting scheduled
by any means.
The NFC East makes it easier.
Yeah. So I obviously I'm gonna say the Bucks beat the Rams. We whopped them last year, so I could see that happening again. And then they're gonna likely be in every race. Let's see what they do against the Seahawks. I really do think, to be honest, I'm gonna say it right now. I think it comes down to this weekend. I think the winner of this game right here between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams is going to determine the division winner unless the Arizona Cardinals are able to pull off the upset against the Buffalo Bills and keep stride. If they can't keep stride this weekend, then they can basically just chalk it up. They're going for a wild card.
And just go for the wild card. Yeah, that makes sense. I will say that DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey matchup, if they do match up, is going to be fun.
That's going to be so fun. But what's gonna? I am excited to see what happens with Jalen Ramsey if he gets bodied like Stephon Gilmore did and like Josh Norman did.
I don't know. I think Jalen Ramsey's probably one of the better matchups for DK. There's not really a ton of good ones, but Jalen's is a physical freak in his own right.
Very true.
And
very true.
So I think it could be a good matchup. I'm intrigued.
Physical freak, but I just don't. I mean, again, you're not as strong or as fast as DK. I don't know. I don't know if anybody is as strong or as fast as DK right now in the NFL.
But I do think it's going to be one of the better matchups for DK. It's going to be one of the tougher.
That is a matchup highlight for everybody to pay attention to this weekend. That is a game you should definitely tune into, specifically that matchup right there. DK is playing lights out right now. What's funny is actually I have our numbers right here. In terms of our MVP metric and our player grades, DK is actually ranked higher right now than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's 11 total turnovers dropped him way down. I think he went from one turnover
100%.
Less than 3 weeks ago to now he's got a total of 11. So 10 turnovers, I think, over the last 3 weeks have really, really hurt him. But yeah, DK is our third highest in terms of the MVP ranking. So his yards, his touchdowns, his points, his performance has totaled more wins than all but two other players in the NFL right now, if that makes sense.
Who are those two other guys? Are you keeping that a secret?
Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
I
love the Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill has averaged, I think he's averaged over a touchdown a game right now. Yeah, he's got 10 touchdowns and we're going into week 10.
Out.
and I think he's put his team ahead. I think 5 or 6 of those touchdowns have been game, like game winning or go ahead touchdown scores. So that's typically, so if you guys don't know, that's how the MVP metric works. Wins, it has a lot to do with wins. So obviously the top guys are going to be up there. The team with 1 loss is going to be obviously going to be up there. But if you guys want it, it goes Mahomes, Hill, Metcalf, Derrick Henry, Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, then Russell Wilson. I don't know if I agree with that one, but again, when you have half the turnovers and the same winning percentage, I understand. Then Tyler Lockett, which is something to point out, that we've never had 3 players wind up in the same MVP conversation inside the top 10. But again, that is because they technically share these yards and they share those stats, so it does kind of pepper in the ability to have. But we've had 2 before. Like we've had this a lot. Like years prior, we had Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. You know, when they went off together, there's no other way to pull it. And so obviously, like if Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP, not Tyreek Hill. But it just shows how important. It really more importantly shows how important they are to the offense. And then it goes Devontae Adams, and then it goes Dalvin Cook. So I would say I 100% agree with that. The only thing that I do not like to see is
Ryan Tannehill that high.
Kamara is low. I don't like seeing Alvin Kamara that low. I think there might be a mess up. We got to figure that out. There might be some player stats. I'm gonna have to do some double checking because I think Alvin Kamara should be higher up on this list. So I'm gonna have to deep dive into this. But anyways, we're getting off topic. I love talking about my MVP metric and everything else. All right, before we wrap this episode on up, one of the best topic I think you brought up here is what first or second year quarterback would you take moving forward? And I went as far as to rank them actually. And
I can do that really fast,
we can.
So don't worry.
I think that's pretty easy. I've got 9 here. I'm trying to think of a 10th. I'm sure there'll be one that comes to mind, but I mean in terms of starters or people that have actually got playing time and even like ever so slightly, I've got them. So I've got 9 total. While you're coming up with your list, I will just roll through mine then.
Start with 9.
Start with 9,
1.
go 9 down? All right.
Yeah.
At number 9, I have Dwayne Haskins. I do think Dwayne Haskins has talent. I do not think Dwayne Haskins has a head on his shoulders. And I don't mean that personally. I just mean that from a football standpoint. And he's also just, I mean, it is what it is. The man is extremely immature. Has been, caught doing stuff he's not supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be a team leader. So as much as I do have seen the talent and the possibility of him being a good quarterback in terms of who I want on my team moving forward, you're damn right it ain't Dwayne Haskins. Do you want me to keep rolling while you're getting your list again?
Yeah, keep rolling.
At number
I'm going to
8,
let you finish.
I have Jalen Hurts. One, more so because we haven't seen much of anything from Jalen Hurts. We don't know a whole heck of a lot about Jalen Hurts. But I do know about the man and the person. I got to meet him this year, and he's the kind of player you want on your damn team, even if it is just in this Taysom Hill role or as a backup. I want him on my team. He's just one of those kind of guys. And do I think he has a legit chance at being an NFL quarterback? Likely not. I don't think he has the arm talent. But he's somebody that I think will be on a roster for a long time. So at number 8, I have Jalen Hurts.
Got it.
All right.
So I went 9. I'll just do my 9 and 8 real quick. 9 is Daniel Jones. The turnover problems are absolutely terrible, man. You cannot fumble the ball that much and have him any higher than 9 for me because I just went top 9 as well. And number 8 for me was Dwayne Haskins because, like you said, seems to be some discipline issues there. I think he has a little bit of talent. I'm a little concerned about the arm talent. I don't think it's elite, but I think it's good enough to be an NFL quarterback. But there's definitely something going on in that locker room, whether it's the Redskins themselves or Dwayne Haskins. I don't know. I'm not in the room. But I know that there's something going on, and Ron Rivera will usually start the guy that he thinks will help them win the most. And if something's going on with Dwayne Haskins that's not letting him think that, I think we should be concerned.
Yeah, so Daniel Jones has a .57 touchdown and turnover ratio. 0.5. So he turns over the
That's
ball
bad.
basically almost or just over twice as much basically as he scores. I mean, it's or just almost twice as much. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Just under.
Yeah, and David Gettleman wants to stick with him.
Yeah, good luck
All
with
right.
good luck with that, buddy. Good luck with that. 14 turnovers, and we're coming up on week 10. So you do the math. It's not good, and so that is who I have next at number 7. Not worth talking about, but yes, Daniel Jones he's bad. He's not good. You can blame the offensive line. You can try to blame the offense. You could definitely blame Dave Gettleman, but at the end of the day, the only person who is fumbling the ball or turning the ball over is Daniel Jones. Who do you got at number 7?
Oh yeah,
Or 8-7?
I have Jalen Hurts actually because I think just the leadership qualities and the fact that he's a little bit dual thready, like he can run pretty well. He's got a good, like you said, he's got a good head on his shoulders. I didn't meet him, but everything I've heard is fantastic. I loved him in college. I love the guy in college. I didn't really get a chance to study him all too much, but I think I would rather have him running my team than Daniel Jones or Dwayne Haskins. I think he'll take care of the ball better than Daniel Jones. And from everything we've heard about Dwayne Haskins, Jalen Hurts is going to probably be a better leader. He's probably one of the better leaders on this list, period. So I think it's something that you just have to consider when you're talking not just talent, but just the head on the shoulders.
100% agree. That's been the biggest thing for me. So, all right, we're at number 6. Did we skip? Okay.
Yeah.
So at number 6, I have Jarrett Stidham. I still have some faith in Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback. When at the Senior Bowl, he was the best quarterback throwing the football over Daniel Jones, over anybody else that was in that draft or that we seen at the Senior Bowl. Obviously not Kyler Murray, but to me, I really like what I seen from Stidham. You know, in college, it wasn't the right offensive system at Auburn. I do think that he is a great thrower of the football. I do think what we seen last year in preseason is what we can see, and I think in the 2 times he's had to step into a game this year, he has looked decent. He threw a few interceptions, but again, that was kind of like, you know, last second hurrah throwing the ball up, and I think the other few can't necessarily be blamed on him. If he was ever to be given a legit offense, maybe this next season, given an open competition, depending on who they bring in, I know they're keeping this Cam thing going. Cam is the only offense they have right now. Cam is the only offense they're going to have right now. If you put Jarrett Stidham in that offense, I don't think it gets better. I think it likely gets worse simply because he doesn't have the weapons around him. If this was a loaded offense, I do think that, or an offense that had at least the pass catchers to run a sophisticated Bill Belichick or Josh McDaniels type offense, I do think that the rhythm throwing, the timing, the anticipation, the touch throws that Jarrett Stidham can make more so than Cam Newton would benefit this offense. I just don't think they're willing to show it right now. So I still have faith in Stidham as a long-term option or viability, at least more so than Jones, Hurts, or Haskins.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't put Stidham on my list. Totally forgot about him. Maybe it's because I'm not a fan of his game. That's just me. But for 6, I have Gardner Minshew.
I forgot
he's
about
got.
Gardner.
Yeah, I knew I was probably gonna forget.
Damn it, that's who I was missing.
I'm gonna forget somebody here, so don't worry about it.
Right.
So, but
probably Drew Lock. That's who I have at 5.
I have Drew Lock at 4. So we'll see how that goes. But Gardner Minshew at 6. I like how he plays. I think there's definitely some concerns about arm strength and just long-term playability. But that guy's going to be a backup quarterback in the league for a long time. Like, you're going to see he's going to be our next Ryan Fitzpatrick, basically. He's going to come in for a team, wow for 5 games, and then start trailing off because you see the arm strength struggles. You see the kind of some of the turnover problems may crop up again. But he is a fun player to watch. He belongs in the NFL, and I'm happy he got a chance to start it all.
All right, let me rephrase that then. At 10, I have Haskins. At 9, I have Hurts. At 8, I have Jones. At 7, I have Stidham. At 6, I have Drew Lock. Cannon for an arm has looked good at times. I do not have much faith of Drew Lock at all in terms of being their next option or their a viable starting quarterback for Denver. I think he's going to be a decent backup quarterback who sticks around for quite some time just due to the arm talent, but I don't think he will ever be a true option. I don't think he's ever going to develop into what they drafted him to be. It's just I'm not the biggest fan. Then at 5, I have Gardner Minshew. And I will just, for all the same reasons you listed, I do think, he's a baller, he's a playmaker, but I don't think he'll ever be, he doesn't have the level of talent. I think he plays way above his level of talent, like on several occasions. Like he has an ability to get hot and catch fire, like NBA Jams type, and literally put up 400 or 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then the next week he'll come out and not do a damn thing. So coming in at your number 4? 5. You're number 5. What do you got for 5?
Jordan Love.
Okay.
This is a pure talent thing. He has not played a snap, which he shouldn't, over Aaron Rodgers. I think that's pretty obvious with how Aaron Rodgers is playing this year. But man, I'm for arm talent. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I see arm talent, I'm like, all right, I'm intrigued. So Jordan Love, he's got arm talent that showed. It's more just an inconsistency thing. And behind Aaron Rodgers, I think he might, if Aaron Rodgers is willing to teach him, that's kind of the big thing here. But if he's willing to teach him, I think he can get a little bit better with his footwork. I think he can get a little better with the consistency things, because we see Aaron Rodgers got better with that over time. When he started playing first, he was very much early in his career let my talent do the talking kind of thing. My talent's going to win us games with all these broken plays and things like that, weird angles from the pocket, Hail Marys, all that stuff. But now you see him become a more calm, collected quarterback, stay in the pocket. He's been outside of it a lot less, running the offense, which is a really good thing for prolonging Aaron Rodgers' career, and also could help teach Jordan Love some things. And I think that I would take him 5th out of all these guys just because of the talent that's there.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Again, I'm just going to keep moving the stuff down the list because
you're all good.
I didn't put Jordan Love on here for the simple fact I was only going with quarterbacks that we've seen play. I got to see Jordan Love last year, dating all the way back to me living in Utah and being not that far from Utah State. And then I got to see him again at the Senior Bowl. Outstanding arm, outstanding guy, like super nice, super humble.
I'll bet.
Like very, very professional, very calm demeanor, like everything you kind of want from a quarterback, a perfect type, like personality-wise, to sit behind a Aaron Rodgers and learn from him in terms of being I would say being able to just kind of sit back, listen and learn, and not be, give Aaron Rodgers any form of intimidation or anything like that, like he's coming for his job. I think he is a true student of the game. He's going to sit down and learn, what it takes to, to be an Aaron Rodgers caliber quarterback. So I will say that I will say that I if we're putting that in order, then I'm definitely adding Jordan Love to this list, because he was arguably my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft this year. Right there with Burrow, I would have taken Jordan Love over Tua, and I would have taken Jordan Love over Justin Herbert this year, simply for the upside factor, because. You look at, Baker was the most accurate quarterback coming out, but Josh Allen had the most upside. We all know who would be taken at this point now. So it's your ability.
100%.
It's your ability to coach. How confident are you am I of a coach? I would think that, I'm not that great of a coach. Like I don't have any NFL caliber pedigree, but if I was a coach, I would be very confident in my abilities to coach someone. So that's what I would say. So for me, coming in at number 4, then I do have Tua. I think Tua could and should. I probably should have him flip-flop with Herbert, but Herbert's been playing so goddamn good that I'm not going to disrespect Herbert like that. But yeah, what Tua's done over the last 2 weeks, there's been some mental errors. Like, don't get me wrong, there's been a few bad throws or a few like, why would you do, like, he literally that one interception, he literally just gave him the ball. Like, it was a give me, and I don't know if he didn't see him or what he was doing, or he thought he was on the other team. He hasn't worn those colors very, very long. I don't know what it was, but that was just a bad throw.
You saw red.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I think that Tua has the opportunity to be the better, arguably the best quarterback on this list. I think any of these top 4 quarterbacks could be, and I wouldn't be very surprised. But with the injury history and him just being in Miami, I'm just a little nervous about it. And it's just hard. Like I would probably Realistically, I think I'd probably take Tua over Herbert even at this point, but I've eaten so much crow right now that I'm just going to give Herbert his respect because he's been playing very well. Regardless if he's winning or not, he's been playing very, very well. So that's who I got at number 4.
I just realized that I'm really dumb and I forgot to put 2 on my list. I don't know why. But
it's all right.
Let's just pretend I slot him at 4 right there, and I move Drew Lock down to 5 and Jordan Love down to 6 and so on and so forth.
We weren't supposed to have
Drew
a list.
Lock was
We're just supposed to talk about the one guy. And which is both going to be, I already know who it's going to be. He's really short.
Yeah. But so Drew Lock at 5. I like the arm talent. He's basically Jordan Love, but if he's played. So in my eyes, kind of, it's Jordan Love, but if he played. So I take Drew Lock over Jordan Love because, I mean, he's actually played games right now. If I wanted to start them tomorrow, Drew Lock would have at least started NFL games. And then going on to 4, of course, Tua. I've loved what I've seen. Injury history is concerning, but he did look like the 2018 version of himself against the Cardinals. He was running really well, actually, which was surprising to me. He showed off a little bit of arm strength, which was nice, and his placement was good as always. That touchdown to Mac Hollins was a beautiful throw at the end of the game to win it. So it was really nice to see him play at a high level. I loved him at Bama, and I think it's great that he's in Miami because I think with Brian Flores coaching, that's actually not a bad situation.
I agree. Even seeing him run the ball for that one first down that he got, where I think he juked Budda Baker. That was impressive. That was like, all right, Tua is back. You know, he's not scared. I mean, he planted hard on that leg that he broke.
It was nice to see.
Or it's the hip, but
messed up the hip. Yeah,
exactly. But he planted hard. I mean, that was a perfect cut. He gave him a little shoulder shake and boom, and got that first down on a third and 5, third and 6, whatever it was. So I was very, very impressed by that. Herbert, like I said, Herbert's been playing lights out. I still do not know what Herbert can be in a few years. I think what Herbert's been doing is making outstanding Herbert throws. You know, these deep ball throws. I think, you know, when we watched him against the Bucks were like, you can't throw that far, and then he threw that far, and it bit him in the ass not once but twice. And a few teams have done that. And so they've underestimated his arm strength and how fast he can get that ball out and down the field and the velocity in those deep throws. But he's been throwing to open wide receivers. A lot of the plays that they've been doing have been making it as easy as possible on him. I haven't seen many anticipatory throws. I haven't seen him drop it into the bucket very often. You know, and that will come down the road or has potential to develop down the road. But he's just never been that quarterback. He's got that straight line, hard, accurate, you know, just drive the ball into the lane. And it's worked so far, but I think when he has to start reading defenses and defenses know exactly where he's trying to put the ball, I think it's going to be a different story, and I think he will regress in year 2. But I will eat crow and say he's been playing a hell of a lot better than I actually expected. It does come with a surrounding talent to say the least, though.
Oh yeah, this is where we disagree on our list. My 3 is Joe Burrow. So a big thing for me when watching quarterbacks is I'm not as experienced as you are and the other guys at Blitz, but this is a big thing for me is upside. When I'm picking a young quarterback, I'm like, all right, I might as well shoot for the stars here and try to get that all-pro. While Joe Burrow has a really, really high floor, the lack of arm talent is – I'm not saying he doesn't have the adequate arm talent to be an NFLer, not saying that, but the lack of like really good arm talent to really drive the ball into some really, really tight windows and make plays when they're not there concerns me a little bit. And I've seen that a little bit on his tape from seeing it this season and seeing clips other people put on Twitters and the games I've watched as well. So it concerns me a little bit, but I do think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll go to a couple Pro Bowls. I think he'll probably be a passing leader one year, and I think he'll lead the Bengals to playoffs. I just question the overall upside of it all because I think he's got that really high floor once again, but not as high as upside due to that lack of elite arm talent. And that's why I'm just going to go ahead and jump to my 2 so I can talk a little bit about Justin Herbert here. Justin Herbert's my 2. The arm talent that he's shown, I didn't watch him very much at Oregon, but is really, really good so far through his NFL games. I remember I watched I was going to do a post corner on Keenan Allen, and I was watching some of those throws, and I even watched it the Buccaneers game, and I saw some darts. Like there was one throw over the middle to Donald Parham on a seam route where he just splits two defenders, and it's the perfect ball right into the bucket. And I don't remember who it was against, but it was a beautiful throw that I was like, okay, you have my attention. And then there was this last weekend against the Raiders, he threw those two fade balls that were both perfect. That I was watching those, I was like, okay, that's not a throw every quarterback makes. And just the placement has been surprising to me. The arm talent was really good. And you can kind of see how he was held back by that Oregon scheme. At least I can. At least that's what I'm seeing. And I think that I would take him over Joe Burrow right now because I'm shooting for that upside. I'm shooting for that. This guy has shown the arm talent, shown some of the athleticism, shown some of those skills that you need to be an all-pro MVP level quarterback. And I'm really intrigued by that. And this is mostly just a gut thing. I know a lot of people stick to their guns, which is perfectly fine, and pick Joe Burrow. And I'm not faulting them for that at all. But my gut tells me that Justin Herbert's something special there in those beautiful Chargers uniforms. And I'm excited to see where it goes. And that's why I'd probably take him too.
Just can't do it. I just can't do it. As great as the arm talent is, and it is good. I value touch throws. I value decision making far more, and I think Joe Burrow's decision making is easier, and he's in a lot tougher situation. They both have plenty of surrounding talent in terms of in terms of pass catchers, in terms of weapons. But I do think Burrow's behind a piss poor. I mean, just downright awful offensive line, and he's only been able to make so many plays and make so many splash or wow plays, while Justin Herbert is basically had plenty of time. You know, even against the Buccaneers defensive line and front seven with all them blitzing, they were still able to protect. So I've yet to see, you know, Justin Herbert really like running for his life like I've had seen Joe Burrow basically on every single snap. My big thing with Joe Burrow is when you watch him, his eyes are consistently downfield. They are always downfield. His ability to read a defense, his ability to locate open receivers or find open passing lanes is outstanding. And I haven't seen Herbert do that. I've seen Herbert do exactly what he's been told to do. I don't think he really extends the play to the extent that Joe Burrow does. I think, you know, he knows here's option A, here's option B, here's option C. I don't see him very often get to option C. I see him hit and find open wide receivers and, like you said, thread that needle. Even when he is covered, he threads that needle. Sooner or later, that's going to bite him in the ass, and you can only do that for so long before teams figure out what throws you can make and what throws you can't make and what lanes to cut off in terms of secondary. That's what concerns me. I just think that Burrow, I think Burrow has far superior upside outside of just that howitzer for an arm. I think everything else about his game is better than Herbert's. And I think Herbert has that eye-catching, eye-popping, QB arm that gets GMs in trouble and gets GMs fired because Drew Lock isn't going to be what everybody wanted him to be. He just has a cannon for an arm. He's not an accurate quarterback. And I think sooner or later that's going to pan out with Herbert. But Herbert is accurate. I do think that it's going to take him time to develop the rest of it. I think as of right now, and I'm kind of biased because right now, like coming in, he's far better than Josh Allen is. He probably even to this point as a thrower, he's probably better than Josh Allen is in terms of accuracy. But we've seen Josh Allen get better at those touch throws, so I think Justin Herbert, it will get better. The anticipatory throws will sooner or later show up. They're going to have to for him to have success. Where Burrow, I think, can make that fade route, can drop it into the arms, can make those touch throws, can make those arcing throws, can get it just over the linebacker, as to where 95% of the time Burrow is going to Herbert is just going to force it in there, and it may or may not pan out down the road. But again, if you can make the throw, you can make the throw. All that being said, both of us are in agreement. It's Kyler Murray all day long, twice on Sundays. Kyler Murray, I don't care how tall he is. I don't care what he can or can't do behind a 7-foot offensive lineman. Kyler Murray is on pace right now to be the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 and rush for 8,000. That is incredible. Without Kyler Murray, I think Arizona Cardinals, could possibly even be winless. They would not be good. They would not be good at all. And he's the only player that makes this system work. I don't think many quarterbacks could make this system work as well as he does. I think he's probably the best quarterback for this system in the NFL.
Oh, yeah. And I think the big thing with him is I actually saw a stat. He's in for a better rushing season this year, including touchdowns and yards, than Lamar Jackson was last year. He's personally better as a passer, especially as a deep passer, than Lamar Jackson. I love Lamar, but I do think that Kyler Murray is further along passing the football. There's some pocket management questions still. Sometimes he sits back there a little bit too long, and some decision making sometimes, but overall his arm talent's there, the athleticism is there. The way he runs is hilarious always because he's so short. I always compare him to a cartoon character. He's like the little cartoon characters you see when their legs are moving so fast.
Yeah, he is.
That's what he looks like.
He's like what is it? Not Speedy Gonzalez, but who am I thinking of? Not the Wile E. Coyote, the Roadrunner. His legs literally do turn like the Roadrunner. It is funny.
But it's just the way he makes people miss consistently. He doesn't really take big hits, which I think is a huge thing for a running quarterback. He really does a good job of avoiding big hits. And just, once again, the arm talent. I'm a sucker for arm talent. I always will be. I always say the biggest sin that Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning gave us, especially Peyton Manning late in his career, was convincing us that arm talent doesn't matter. It's still important. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it's still important when evaluating quarterbacks. And I really do think that Kyler Murray has that elite arm talent to make him a future MVP. Maybe not this year, still possible. He could completely go off. Maybe not this year, but in years in the future, I think he's going to win an MVP.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I don't think he's got a shot. He's got a shot at MVP. I think he's ranked 28th for us right now, simply because he does have those 10 turnovers.
He struggled a little bit earlier this year.
I mean, and he's hit his stride. He's got spots, but again, you have to have it's the winning percentage over everything, and he's just not. They're losing games. They're not winning games. They just lost to Miami. For the MVP race at least, you've got to be winning games to be up there.
Got to win games, yeah.
But what he's doing between the air and the ground is outstanding. I believe that is it. I have stuff to get to, so we're gonna wrap this on up. I just noticed that I have a meeting here in about 5 minutes, so appreciate you guys tuning in.
Sounds good. We got
to
the
Blitz Breakdown, presented by Blitzalytics.com, where scouting meets analytics and you meet the newest crop of off-field talent. Big shout out to our sponsors, Key City Brewing. And if you guys have not picked up your copy of the Prospect Encyclopedia, please go pick it up today on Blitzalytics.com/shop, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, anywhere you can buy books. The Blitzalytics Prospect Encyclopedia is available. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Zach Gartin. Thank you so much, sir. Find him at All22Addict on Twitter for all of your guys' scouting needs. He's doing scouting for us as of right now. You'll be able to check out his scouting reports on the next upcoming draft class here in the next few weeks. We'll be starting to get those on the website for you guys because scouting season is just a few weeks away.